This is something the Red Sox simply need to get done, and right now they aren't. What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to Red Sea Radio. My name is Corbin, and Thursday, the Red Sox kick off their season. Their starter to kick off the season is Garrett Crochet, and Garrett Crochet is not only going to be the Red Sox opening day starter, he's going to be their number one starter for the next couple of years, and hopefully he becomes an ace of the Boston Red Sox, and right now he's looking like he's going to be exactly that. He had another outing yesterday and continued to just flat out dominate spring training. This one was 5 1/3 innings. He struck out 9 hitters in those 5 1/3 innings, allowed 0 earned runs, and this could be one of the better Red Sox pickups they've had in a very long time. The problem with Garrett Crochet right now is that he's not currently going to be here for a very long period of time. Right now, he is 2 years away from his free agency. By 2027, Garrett Crochet will be able to basically sign anywhere that he pleases. And since coming over to the Red Sox have publicly said that they are making a priority to ensure that that doesn't happen, right? They want Crochet here for a long period of time. Unfortunately, though, as of right now, that doesn't look like it's going to be a realistic possibility. According to an article written yesterday by Chris Cotillo, which I'm going to link in the description down below so you guys can read the entire thing if you want to, the Red Sox and Garrett Crochet don't appear to be very close to getting an extension done. From this article, quote, a source with knowledge of the talks told Mass Live late Friday that a Crochet extension is less than likely before he starts for the Red Sox. There is believed to be a large gap between the sides at present. Later in the article, we did also get this quote from Crochet himself when asked about where things stand. Quote, I think that right now we are just looking forward to getting through the season. Yeah. I don't love that, right? I don't love that for multiple of different reasons. I really want this guy here for a long period of time, and I really hope the Red Sox are able to get something done. But before I absolutely freak out and get irrationally mad about this, which is what I want to do here, I do want to look at this from all angles. Why isn't a deal getting done between the Red Sox and Garrett Crochet? Well, let's start by looking at this from Garrett Crochet's angle. He's poised in a really interesting position right now. There are a couple of different ways that Crochet could be looking at this. The first is with his past. Garrett Crochet has been injured numerous times throughout his career, and it's prevented him from getting to the truly elite status that we know he can get to. That was one of the big things with him on the Chicago White Sox. It's why when he was asked if he was going to be traded at the deadline last year, whether or not he'd pitch in the playoffs, and his answer was yes, only if I got an extension. He's dealt with a multitude of injuries, and because of this, he's very cautious and wants to be somewhere for a long period of time and really sort of make his home. If the Red Sox put an extension offer on the table that is reasonable and in his price range, that could be his main line of thinking. I just want to ensure that where I'm at is going to be able to provide for me for the next 6-7 years, despite what has happened in my past. The other side of this, though, and why a deal may not be getting done from Crochet's point of view, is the potential money he could be making if he could figure out how to be what he can potentially be on the mounds over the next couple of years. Let's say a deal doesn't end up getting done, which right now it doesn't look like a deal is going to get done. Garrett Crochet gets through this season. He ends up being exactly what he's projected to be: a legitimate ace in Major League Baseball, a Cy Young contender, and a pitcher that helps their team make the postseason. That's going to add a whole lot of money to his potential payday. You do that over the course of the next 2 years, and you hit the free agent market under 30 years old. He'd be 28 hitting the free agent market. You're probably talking about a $300+ million player, if not $350+ million player. That is a whole lot of money that you'd potentially be leaving on the table by taking a deal right now. In the mind of Garrett Crochet, there's a real possibility that he's not even coming to the table to the Red Sox with a realistic offer right now. He could potentially be sitting there saying, hey, you guys want to lock me up for the next few years. I know what I'm capable of. Either I'm not going to do that until I prove that I'm worth $300 million, or you're going to have to put $300 million on the table right now, or I'm not signing anything, right? And at that point, there's only so much the Boston Red Sox can do to actually get there. However, we also need to look at this from the Red Sox perspective. Why might they not want to end up signing Garrett Crochet this offseason? Well, I think it goes back to he hasn't really proven that he's a legitimate ace in Major League Baseball yet, right? He's got all the underlying metrics. He's got everything in terms of talent to be an ace in Major League Baseball. He's just never actually gone out there and done it. Again, you go back to the injury history, and you even go back to last year where he was really one of the better pitchers in the sport until he ended up with an innings limit because of his Tommy John surgery. The Red Sox could be sitting there and they could be saying, okay, we would be willing to give you $300 million. We just want to ensure, or whatever it takes to get it done, right? I'm just throwing $300 million out there because that's where it feels like this contract is going to end up if he ends up being the ace Cy Young contender that we all think he can be this season. It could end up being less than that, but we're going to use 300 as just sort of the metric here. The Red Sox could be sitting there saying, we're going to throw $300 million on the table next offseason. We want you to prove this season that you can actually go out there and do that, that you can give us 170 plus innings, 30 starts, and have that sub-3 ERA that you're capable of having, and really sort of put yourself out there as a leader of this team, right? Once you prove that, then we're going to pay you what you want. And that's not a terrible tactic. I don't think that's the worst idea in the world. I also think that's a big risk, right? Because at some point, Garrett Crochet could sit there and say, well, you know what? Instead of taking the $300 million from the Red Sox, let's see if I can get them to bid $350, $360, $370 on the open market against some of these teams like the Dodgers, the Mets, or the Yankees. Let's see what I can do to make myself more valuable here. And by doing that, right, it'd be going to the free agent market. So that's what scares me about if the Red Sox are thinking that way. However, I think there's still reason to get a little bit upset by the idea of the Red Sox not extending Garrett Crochet. One reason why locking up Garrett Crochet as soon as humanly possible to me feels like the smarter move is obviously that big risk that we just talked about, but also the fact that you gave up a ton of talent in this trade, right? 2 years of Garrett Crochet may have not been worth Kyle Teal, Braden Montgomery, Chase Meidroth, Wickelman Gonzalez, and I think there was one more. There may have been, I don't know, but those are the top four, right? That's a lot of talent that you're giving away for just 2 years. Unless you win a World Series, even if he wins a Cy Young, it still doesn't feel incredibly worth it. Unless you win a World Series, if you lose Garrett Crochet in 2027, that trade ends up looking a little bit lopsided, and it wouldn't be in your favor, right? You'd be giving up a ton of assets for really short-term gains when you could have had all those assets given up for a very long-term gain, and it feels ridiculous to not be able to get a deal done. But what also really bugs me about the idea of not being able to get a deal done with Garrett Crochet right now is the idea that the Red Sox were willing to overspend on other pitchers on the market this offseason. Just the other day, we got a legitimate confirmation from Corbin Burnes himself in an interview that the Red Sox had an offer out there that was similar to the $210 million that he signed with for the Arizona Diamondbacks. We also have the legitimate confirmation that when in the Max Fried sweepstakes, the Red Sox were just 1 year below the New York Yankees, right? They were at 7 years, $190 million. Both of those would have been fantastic, right? I would have certainly not complained if the Red Sox had spent on Corbin Burnes or Max Fried, but at the same time, too, on paper, those are both overpays. Those are both overpays for the pitcher that you would have been getting, especially at the ages that you would have gotten them. It wouldn't have meant it was a bad deal. It just would have meant you spent more than what they were hypothetically worth on the free agent market. If you were willing to do that with two guys in their 30s, why aren't you willing to overpay to get a deal done with Crochet, who's currently on your team and not even close to his 30-year season? To me, that's what absolutely drives me nuts about the fact that the Red Sox can't figure out a way to get a deal done with Garrett Crochet. Now, even if the numbers are higher than what both of these are putting on the table, right? Let's say Garrett Crochet's coming to the table and he's saying, look, if you want to lock me up, it'll be $260 million over the course of 7 years, whatever it may be that Garrett Crochet is looking for. Even at that point, again, you go back to what he could be worth if he is who we think he could be over the next 2 years. By the end of the next 2 years, you could be looking at that deal and saying, this is an absolute bargain, right? An overpay for Garrett Crochet now is going to feel like and look a little bit silly. But by the end of this season alone, that could look like a major underpay. By the end of next season, you could be talking about an incredibly massive deal for the Boston Red Sox, right? Something that looks incredible on paper. As long as this dude stays healthy, he would absolutely be worth the overpay right now. And to me, that drives me absolutely crazy. You were willing to overpay Bregman. You're willing to overpay Burns. You're willing to overpay Max Fried. There was a report just a couple of weeks ago that you were willing to match the Mets offer for Juan Soto if he gave you confirmation that he wanted to sign with you. And yet, Garrett Crochet, we're going to play hardball with? That doesn't make any sense to me, especially because you actually got Garrett Crochet, right? It's not a, we're trying to lure you to the Red Sox. It's a, hey, you're already here. Why don't you just stay here for 6 or 7 years? Again, I'm getting irrationally mad as I continue to talk about this, and I really don't want to get irrationally mad because there are two sides to this coin. Crochet could be saying no. The Red Sox could be saying we want you to perform, and that may end up being a smart idea. But again, history-wise, the Red Sox haven't done a fantastic job of matching up to what people are worth, right? You didn't get Soto. You didn't get Burns. You didn't get Fried. Are you going to get Garrett Crochet? Are you going to be willing to put the money on the table that you need to do if you're willing to go this route? And that really scares me too. I just think it'd be such a smarter idea to overpay Garrett Crochet now, give him an offer he can't refuse now, as opposed to having to wait until next offseason. And again, things can change, right? This is why I don't want to get irrationally mad. If you remember, back when the Rafael Devers contract conversation was taking place, there was a report, I believe almost word for word, it was that the Red Sox are galaxies apart from what Rafael Devers wanted, and then less than a week later, he was signed here for a decade, and there is still time before opening day. Maybe something like that happens, right? Maybe some sort of Hail Mary takes place where the Red Sox end up extending Garrett Crochet before opening day. It is still a possibility, so I'm not going to stay irrationally mad until they actually start the season without him extended. And at the end of the day, yes, it's probably going to cost more if Garrett Crochet gets to the season, comes in third for a Cy Young, and the Red Sox make a deep playoff run because of him. But there is still the possibility that you can sign him next offseason, right? The conversations don't stop once the season begins. However, you're not going to be able to sign him during the season because Garrett Crochet flat out said, look, I don't want to negotiate during the season. I don't want any distractions. I just want to go out there and pitch. So you basically have this week and then next offseason to get something done. Seems like a lot of time, but a lot can change in that year. I don't know. I sit here with all this and it still drives me crazy. It drives me crazy that the Red Sox can't figure out a way to get this guy signed. You had all of spring training. You had all of this sort of publicly, we want him to be here. We want him to be here. We had all of this. We want to start signing these younger guys that can continue to be legitimate core pieces for the Red Sox for the foreseeable future. And you haven't done any of that. Crochet is at the forefront of that. Get that deal done. And this team looks so much better for the next 6 years. I don't want to end up in 2027 having a similar conversation that we had this offseason, right? The team's talented, but you don't have any frontline starting pitchers. If you don't have that, you're not going to be able to compete. Right now, right, Crochet could be that guy, and instead we're sitting here talking about being worlds apart or very far apart in contract negotiations. Just figure it out, get it done, and then you don't have to worry about frontline starting pitching for a long period of time. It drives me crazy. It drives me absolutely nuts, but there is still time for it to get done, so I don't want to totally freak out just yet. I do want your opinion, though, so let me know in the comment section down below. What do you think about all this? Are you sort of sitting there like me where you're trying not to get irrationally mad, but you're sitting there saying, just get it done, dummies? Are you on the other side of this, where you're on the Red Sox side, where you're saying, no, I want this guy to prove he can be an ace before you pay him ace money? Let me know all your thoughts on where the Red Sox are at in these Crochet conversations in the comment section down below. As always, if you made it to the end of this video, do me a favor, make sure you guys have hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. If you're new here, we talk Red Sox content almost every single day. Also, make sure you guys have hit the like button on this video as well. It just simply helps out a ton. It's the best way to let me know you're enjoying the content. Don't forget, if you guys want to listen instead of watch these episodes, best way to do that is to head over to your favorite podcasting app and look up Red Seat Radio. Thank you all very much for clicking on this one, and I will see you in the Red Seats.